Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to Daren After the Credits, number 40. How's everyone doing today? Returning once again. It's been a minute, I will say. It's been a little bit since we did one of these streams. I'm joined by Darth Bunyan. How's it going, Darth?
Hi, I'm doing good. It's going good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be back. It's been the last time we did one of these streams. Me and you didn't do one all of August. And the last one I did was like late last week in November. I'm sorry, not November. Last week in July, as we talked about Cobra Kai season 4. No, season 7. Sorry. But no, we are here for Umbrella Academy season 4. Which, oh boy, I honestly, and I can say this, I can say this with certainty. I don't remember the last time I've been so conflicted while watching a season of TV. Like, when this season came out, a lot of people were like, this is the new Game of Thrones. And coming out of it, I was like, there's no way. There's no way they messed up as big as Game of Thrones. And now kind of coming out of it a little bit, I might... It's going to be very interesting to talk about as we kind of go through. But yes. How have you been, buddy? How's it been going?
I'm good. It's been an eventful month, to say the least.
Yeah.
But doing good. I've got to keep staying strong. How about you? How's your Labor Day?
It was good. Yeah. That's another thing. Happy Labor Day to everyone here watching who celebrates. It's always a fun time. Again, I worked in the morning, but I had a fun little afternoon with the family. We had some burgers. We played some board games. It was fun. But shout out to everyone in the comments. In Comfort of Strangers is here. How's it going? Hope you're well. And also, woohoo! I assume that's for you. I think that woohoo is over in your direction.
Yeah.
Jose is here. What's up, Jose? Thank you so much for being here. Right off the gate, they ask, what's your rating on season 4 as a whole? Ooh. This is tough because I feel like the first half and the back half are two different ratings, in my opinion. Like, they very much, and again, we're going to be getting into our full thoughts on the season. They feel like two separate seasons of TV, in my opinion. What would be your overall rating, though? Like, overall, what would you say?
Oh, that is tough. Okay, so... okay, if we're going for an absolute honest rating and, like, sheer honesty...
Yeah.
Like, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right? If we're not doing honest, and it's like, because I love the people in this show, I love this show, like it means a lot, right?
Yeah.
For the content that they brought us, and I want to put it higher, but right, Baby Shark, but it doesn't deserve it.
Sure,
it doesn't deserve it, and there's 3 things that I will say they don't deserve it for, but we can get into that.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we're going to be jumping into some spoilers here shortly. It's weird, because it is weird, because I will say, and this might be a hot take, I haven't really read too much of the internet's reaction outside of just like the initial, oh, this thing is the worst thing ever when it first came out. I did enjoy the season more than season 3, at least the first act, because maybe it was just when I watched it, I felt very disappointed from season 3. Like I honestly, let's actually just start with like our thoughts on Umbrella Academy as a whole, as a series up until this point. We were kind of talking about that prior to going live. Did you watch it as it was coming out, or was this more of a binge thing for you? What's your history with this show?
Yeah, no, I was like you. Season 1. Induction to the show and the franchise as a whole. Very excited to see and interested to see the fact that it was Gerard Way that made it. I mean, I was like, okay, this is going to be really interesting, and he proved us right, like the artwork alone, which is a part of like Gabriel Barr, their work, but still, obviously, it's a shared vision. So you knew you'd get into something outrageous, and then the trailer showing the irreverence in the face of certain doom was a massive draw for me. Some of the actors I was unsure on, but those are the ones that I love the most now. You know, because they've just won me over emphatically, and like Klaus is who I was unsure of, right? And easily my favorite character.
Klaus is easily my favorite character as well. I love Klaus a lot as just a character. And I'm curious to talk about him this season too, because oh boy, I'm kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, just my opinions on the show as a whole. I love those first two seasons. Season one especially, I think just blew me away. Because what I found so fascinating about the first season is I felt like each of these individual characters I felt like could have held the show on their own. Like if it was just a character about them and their trauma and what they were going through in their story, I was like, yeah, this is fascinating. They're all in these different places in their life. Luther's story about the moon, Diego's feeling of just trying to be his own hero, Allison's whole thing about like, I can make people do whatever they want. So where do I take that? You know, obviously, you know, like Vanya and Victor's story, you know, was so fascinating from the very jump. Like each character, Klaus, make that out. Klaus had, like, there are shows just like what Klaus is going through, and it's great. Like Klaus could have easily held his own show, and I felt like, and it was just like I felt like they played them all so well, and like when they came together, that was also so fascinating. Just this like very chaotic family and what the just their shared trauma, I always thought was so fascinating. And then season two, I thought like putting them in the different timeline was a lot of fun. Getting them, you know, set in like the 60s and stuff like that was so much fun. And then I did think personally season three slightly dropped the ball for me. Like there were some things I'm like, this is so fun. I don't know, I wasn't vibing with what they were doing with a lot of parts. And then going into the fourth season, I was very concerned because they had announced it was going to be a 6-episode season. And I was like, that seems like a weird sign. And then it came out, and I don't know all the information, so I'm not going to sit here and say this is what it was, but there was some controversy behind the set. There was some weird, there were some weird behind-the-scenes things from, like, producers and stuff like that, of just, like, you know, not treating the cast well and doing some stuff like that. And also, I can say this, I think, certainly now that we've seen the season, they've very clearly, creatively, did not want 6 episodes. They very clearly wanted the normal 10 or 8 or 10 episodes, I feel like. It is so very apparent. It feels like, to me, episode 1, 2, and 3 were their normal plans. And it felt like episode 4, they were like, oh, we're scrambling now. We have 3 left of the show. And they were just throwing so much at the wall so quickly. And it's like, oh, yeah, this was not a creative choice. But yeah, let me just ask you, like, as a whole, just like, what's your general opinion on the season? We'll obviously dive into some of the more nitty-gritty, but
like, what's crazy is this show, its whole bread and butter is kind of like Rick and Morty, like in how different it was. Do you know what I mean? It was so outrageous and like it didn't take anything too seriously. Or at least it just felt that way. Do you know what I mean? Like there was a lot going on, but it was still at the heart of it. It was just like a dysfunctional family. I mean, that we were always dealing with, and that was always part of the fun. But it was always outlandishly different. You know what I mean? Like one of the main characters was a goddamn talking chimpanzee, right? He was a chimpanzee, yeah, Pogo, right?
Yeah.
As well as the mother being a bloody robot, you know what I mean? And then Diego with his mummy issues, everybody with their daddy issues, you know. Like the whole show was just really, really interesting and different. But then you get to season 4, and there's just so much like trite storylines and like just things that just make you roll your eyes and think this shouldn't be here. This shouldn't be in this. This isn't what this show is. Stop it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I kind of want to say the one big thing kind of up front, because I feel like if not, we're going to be dancing around it for the rest of this episode. And I feel like I personally, I think most people agree, did not like the Lila and Five relationship.
Oh,
Because I was kind of eyeing it throughout the season. I was kind of eyeing it, like, you know,
hold
like
it in my
Diego
life.
has a whole, like Diego has this whole thing. He's like insecure that they're cheating. I was like, oh, this is funny because he thinks that she's cheating on his brother. That's what. Oh yeah, he just discovered about him being insecure, and they kept hanging out together. And I was like, okay, they're just getting closer this season. Okay, that's fine. I like a good friendship. Their dynamic, I actually do like their like dynamic a lot. They have a very fun like frenemies kind of vibe throughout the show. I actually think is a lot of fun. And then they're trapped together on this mission, and like episode 5 happened. It was like, oh, they are going there. That is the direction that they're going with those two characters.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like some of it's the weirdness of like the actor himself. Obviously, he is 19 at this time, but also it felt like maybe they were waiting for him to become of age to do that storyline. And like out of universe and in universe, it kind of feels weird. Like it's not illegal, it's not bad, but like it's gross. It feels weird.
No, but in universe, he shouldn't be that old. I don't feel like. Do you mean?
No.
Like,
well, yeah, because he's like 500, right? Or no, he's like 100 or something crazy.
At least 60, right?
Yeah.
That he's lived, but he was in his 10-year-old body.
Yeah.
Back in season 1, right? And it hasn't been 9 years since he came home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like Adrian Gallagher, whatever his name is, right? Like whoever that guy is, I forget his name. Like he might be 19, great, but the character, from my understanding, isn't that old.
Well, okay. So like there was I think he probably is at this point, because the character is supposed to be 13. There was the 5-year time jump this season, right? So that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then another 7 years. But
yeah, but like, are you aging? If reality is happening, are you actually aging? Does that time actually pass if you're not a part of that time? Sure. You know what I mean? So that's relative. So his 19 is relative, is the same as his 60 is. So yeah, we could argue how old he is theoretically, but his body aging should be between 14 to 16, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the 5 years this season was real, but we don't know exactly how the 7 years work in the tunnel, right? Like we don't know. Do you age when you're traveling through timelines? I guess so, because she aged, right? Like she said she had gray hairs now. So I guess like in universe he is okay. Like it's okay. It's not like immoral, but like it still feels gross. I feel like that aside,
honestly, they're the two mentally strongest characters, right? I understand that. Like during his apocalypse, he was so devoid of human contact. He had the mannequin, and she's going through her own marital problems, right? So, like, I get the setup, but they are two of some of the nihilistic characters that have the best wills in the show. Some of them, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that they've seen. And they haven't gone nuts. The people that they've worked for years and years and years on end, and then still have come back and they're still doing all of this stuff. This 7 years should be a breeze for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I get that it's a struggle on people, but I would expect Allison, I would expect Diego, Luther to have those breaks, right? Not these people that have spent more of the reality outside of time and space than anybody else.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be where you struggle. This shouldn't be a thing. This is your bread and butter. Time traveling and universe hopping. Like, this is your whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you struggling?
And also, it's like, okay, you want to do a storyline. I'm not a fan, but okay, you want to do it. I hate you do it like the episode before the finale. I hate that you put this an episode before the finale. Again, it's very clear they wanted more. If they wanted a full 10 episode season, I would assume. And if that's the case, that would have been, episode 5. You would have had 5 episodes to do the storyline. Still not enough, in my opinion, right? Still not enough. But I think the fact, and we're going to get our thoughts into the finale as a whole probably in a bit, but like the fact that the finale is dealing with our family fighting probably in the worst way they've ever fought before. I guess not. I guess season 1 they've had some pretty big fights, but I feel like this is a fight on such another level because it's such like an emotional fight. It's such a personal fight, and like Diego and Five end the show hating each other. Like that's how they end. Like they try to play it off at the end, like oh we're a happy family, blah blah blah. But it's like no, they want to kill each other. Like they hate what's happened between them. There's tension in the family, and that's how we end their arcs. Like, if this was a thing maybe you did last season, I could be like, okay, that's 2 seasons, whatever. You could short that out last season, and then this season kind of straightened it out. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
Is.
Like, Diego deserved better for an ending as well.
Yeah, he did.
Because he got the jilted lover ending where he just has to go, just accept her saying, I'm sorry I hurt you. I know.
Team Forward said the guy who played Diego said he was against the love interest. I had no idea what Blackman was thinking. Yeah. I saw some of the interviews and like the interview with, again, I don't know the actors' names. I'm so sorry. But the actor with Five and what's her name? She's Lila, like they were in a thing, and she was talking about like, oh, how I first saw it last season, and I thought that would never happen. Like she very clearly, like they were very clearly uncomfortable talking about it. They clearly didn't like the decision. Not to read into it, like maybe they loved it, I don't know, but it seemed like they didn't love the decision. Yeah,
I wonder how much input the creator of the show had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, as we're saying, it's very generic of an idea.
Sure. Yeah. And like that's another thing. Like I feel like the show, actually I will say this as well. I feel like the show never really thrived with its relationship stuff. Like I feel like that was never the bread and butter. Like even the stuff last season, like, even the stuff with like Luther and Allison, I was like, I don't love that. Like the Salone stuff last season, I was like, okay, that's it's something, but like I never thought that was one of the show's highlights. And they in this final couple, it was the main focus of the season. Like there was at a point at the end here, and maybe that just goes to see how maybe I don't know, I didn't vibe with the Apocalypse story this season. Like this season, I was like, oh yeah, we're dealing with the Apocalypse again. All right, whatever. But like that wasn't the focus at the end. It really felt like the focus was, there's a cheating scandal going within our family. We got to deal with that. Oh yeah, let's go deal with the end of the world at the end there.
Jinx. Oh, sorry, my cat's pressing buttons.
Okay, I feel like we should maybe back up a little bit. I will say, just to start off the season, I really liked episode 1. I actually think episode 1 is still my favorite episode of this season. Yeah. I really enjoyed. I'm a big fan. I'm like an advocate of time jumps in TV shows. I think time jumps can do a show absolute wonders. I think it can put our characters in new places, re-energize the show. I really enjoyed seeing our team more civilized, I guess. Like I liked getting, after being stuck in a different timeline last season, not having a home to the year prior, then being all stuck in the past. It was nice to see them, have normal jobs again, get back to doing their own thing. Them all in different places. It's very similar to how we started the show, was them kind of all in different places and them having to come together. It was really fun seeing them without their powers as well, like seeing what their lives were like now that they didn't have all these things in their life. What was your thoughts on just kind of like the first episode and just kind of how he started it all?
It was funny as hell. Seeing Luther in the strip club.
That was good.
Diego delivering packages and just breaking windows was hilarious.
Yeah.
I love Klaus in his little high vis little vest. Absolutely needed it. It was good. It was interesting. It was nice to see. Obviously, it would have gone very different. We got to see how they done their jobs with the powers as well. So we got a nice little sides of both.
Yeah.
Having that gorilla ass just
Which actually I don't even know. I don't even know how he got the gorilla body back, to be honest, because that wasn't part of his powers, right? That was the experiment by his dad, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
So like him going into the new timeline and not having it makes sense to me, because in this timeline he just didn't do that. All right, that makes perfect sense. But why did he get it back once he got the powers back? It should have just been his like strength, right?
Right. And another thing is, like, so even in this timeline, right? Mm-hmm. Either one, how did they exist, and two, if they exist because of the marigold, which like she still would have had to create. Do you know what I mean? Like sure. It's a weird cycle. This whole thing, that kind of ends up making no sense.
I think the beginning of it, I can make sense because they got to kind of like redesign the timeline to their choosing, right? It's like, all right, this is how we're setting it all in motion. You know, this is going to go here and this is going to go here. But I do definitely think like into the season, the stuff with the marigold, I do kind of feel like is very convoluted in just how it tells it. And, you know, to be fair, my memory of the past seasons are not as great as I wish it was. But
so you're saying Hotel Oblivion was just the creator of the universe's way for them to plan a blueprint of their lives in the universe?
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, at the end, Allison was able to be like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. You know, she was kind of able to.
All she did was press a button.
Yeah.
Right? Because Reginald already did the inputting.
That's what I assumed, because it came back with her husband from the past, right? So, like, she brought him in, so she was kind of able to get. I don't know how it works exactly. To be fair, like this show has a lot of like MacGuffins, where it's like, here's this really crazy thing. It's like, oh, how does that work? I was like, I don't know. It does because we want it to be that way. Like, most of the time, I know that's a thing. Like, you have a big like stickler for like the timeline rules and stuff like that, which is fair. I get it. And this show has.
I've had to let it go. This another thing we're talking about is just because, right? What are their powers this season? Because it feels like Rumor's powers, I don't even know. It feels like she just started making it up as she started going along. She's our new Cecile, right?
Allison's powers are weird because she doesn't really rumor at all this season. I don't think she once said, I rumor you to do this. They just give her like the power of like will. I don't know. It's weird because like they're the one scene with her in like the strip place, you know, like where Klaus is, the gang is, really irritated me because it's like, okay, she's the most powerful on the team. She can do all these things. She gets knocked out easily, and I was like, if you can speak, you can take this guy out. But she wasn't doing it, and then the daughter comes in and knocks him out. I'm just like, and you're right. They don't really. They give these guys new powers. They give these characters new powers because, like, okay, they have new powers now. Nope, they still have the old ones. Lila's thing made no sense. They're like, oh, I have laser vision now. Okay, cool. But at the very end, they're like, nope, I actually have my duplicating power still. And it's like, okay. It's whatever.
So whose laser beams were you duplicating, you know, at that point? Because there was no one there for that. Another issue I have is if the wife, I forget her name, if Reginald's wife's power, right, to consume a body and empty it out and then wear it, if that's a thing that they all share, how the hell didn't he spot her? How did he not know?
Yeah.
You know, you're stood there right opposite the person, sat next to them, arguing. Do you know what I mean? And you're none the wiser that is the love of your life, like right there.
Yeah,
That's insane to me.
I, I did really feel like her thing at the end, where like I just wanted to fix my mistake. I don't know. It felt so like. Again, maybe this is just me not remembering some of those early seasons as well, but like it felt very like final hour. Oh, we need to write her into the main plot somehow. Let's just make her want to destroy the timeline and redo the past or whatever. I don't know. It felt weird.
How did you feel about the addition of the Durango in the first place? Because the Marigold we got a glimpse of in season 1 and 2, but it weren't really till like 3 that it became like a proper thing, if I remember correctly. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
so,
like the end of the world thing in season 3, right? That was like what
yeah.
was causing the apocalypse.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't know. I feel like almost every season we do the apocalypse thing, it gets a less and less interesting for me. Like I thought first season, I'm like, this is fascinating. I loved how they did Vanya's whole thing. I thought that was fascinating. Season 2, okay, what? Because season 2 it was the kid, right? It was the kid who had the powers and who was causing this thing. All right, that's pretty okay. And then I don't know. I feel like each season out, and by the final season, I was like, I don't feel the threats of the apocalypse, which is weird because like this is the one that we should feel because it's the only one that actually took place. Like this one is actually did destroy the whatever, kind of, I guess, right? But like I don't know. I don't know exactly, but like I didn't care about the apocalypse sidebar. Like I actually really enjoyed some of the actors in place of it. Like I really liked Parks and Rec's guy. What's his name? I forget his name.
Oh, Nick Offerman. Nick Offerman and
yeah,
Megan Lenny, what I think her name is.
Yeah. Like I thought he was a really fun addition to the season. Like I thought him and his wife was a lot of fun. And then
I have to say, it's really lucky they don't try and start a cult because I think I'd join. Like honestly, they're so cool. I love those guys. Even when they're set their barn dancing, all I wanted to do was join in.
Yeah, and like I feel like they were kind of like our new Hazel from like season 1. Like I felt like I don't know. Like I felt like that was kind of like a new version of that, and I was like, yeah, I think they needed. Like I felt like season 3 kind of was missing like a side thing over there. And I thought they played it very well. Cameron asked, did y'all already talk about the Luther has his gorilla body back? We have mentioned it.
We are confused by it as well, Cameron.
Yeah. Yes. They don't explain it. They don't.
No. Because again, he should have just been super strong. Again, that's it.
Which there's like I felt like they would have wanted to jump on that. Because like it feels like each season he gets smaller and smaller in his like gorilla body. This season it doesn't really look like it does. It just looks like he's wearing a coat this season. Like half the time you forget he's in a gorilla body. I've just been like, yeah, just take him out of that stupid suit. Just let him be human. Just have him have super strength. Like I don't know. I feel like that was their chance. They didn't have to do the legs and stuff like that.
No, they wanted to go for laughs, which they got because it was hilarious seeing it in a little G-string. Yeah. Giant hairy ass legs. It was great. But it did make no sense, you know?
No. Yeah. Klaus really irritated me this season. Not the character himself, because I always love him. He's one of my favorite. He's still my most enjoyable character. But you start off the season, I actually really like what they were doing with him. I really liked getting to see sober Klaus. I thought that was such a fascinating, because like I always found that to be such an interesting part of Klaus is that like he feels like he has to cope with all like the death around him, dying over and over, and then seeing all these dead. Like, of course you wouldn't want to be in your right mind. That's so fascinating. That's so interesting. Yeah. And I feel like those first three, like even to the point when he's like he has relapsed, and like I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Now he's going to have to be put in a place where he doesn't have to, like, will he, go over the edge again and get on all these things, or can he try? And I feel like the more interesting plotline would have been Klaus with these powers trying to operate without them. Like, I think that would have been a very fascinating place to put him. And
I agree.
Immediately threw him back to the wolves and did nothing with him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, right. Because at the end of season 3, that's exactly where he would have been, right? Because he had his whole "I am death" moment. You know what I mean? And truly overcome it.
Yeah.
And then got caught up in the whole family stuff again,
Mhm.
right? Which we're all down for because when they're a family and they're dysfunctional as hell, we love it, right?
Yeah.
But he isn't the dysfunction anymore. Do you know what I mean? And that isn't his goal. And to just go, oh, like I'm I'm right back in a place where I didn't be, so I'm just going to go straight back, I think is
Yeah.
cheap, and does all of his work and um, all of the people that he represents a disservice because that's not what everybody's like. Do you know what I mean? People have triggers, sure, but the the work that people put in is meaningful and significant, and
Yeah.
there are gate strongholds and gates that people put in
Yeah.
place that help them through things like this, where a trigger would be imminent, or present.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think they did everybody wrong in that one.
Yeah, no, I think it's almost a terrible lesson. And honestly, we can talk about this at the end. I feel like almost all of the characters were done a disservice at the end because I feel like none of them really felt like their arcs were satisfied or like their arcs were concluded. It was just like, well, we're here. This sucks. All right, guy, bye, guys. And I feel like Klaus is one of them where it's like he worked and he worked and he worked to get to this point, and it's like, well, he relapsed and he's staying that way at the end. And it's like that's such an unsatisfying ending for Klaus. Like I wanted to see that growth. Like I wanted to see, and again, this goes for all the characters. Is like we're seeing their growth throughout the show. I can honestly only say I think one of them fully got to that point, and we can talk about that in a minute. But I don't know. Like I would have liked to have seen Klaus almost be the like moral compass of the group this season. I think could have been really interesting. That's like he's gone through the work he's made over these last 5 years when everyone's kind of scrambling, going their own way. He's been working on himself. He's been working to better himself. Um, like I really liked his kind of yelling fits to the family, despite him running off and like doing all that. Like I really liked his like, no, like you think you've been taking care of me. No, I've been taking care of you. I've been there while he left you, while raising your daughter, while failing these gates. Like I thought, like, okay, this is a really good scene.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, oh man, like it's a really powerful scene when he goes to I think the daughter's house and she's trying to kind of talk her out of it. He's like,
Oh,
no, don't do this. And like I really would have liked if it was her to be like, no, like I've like do this for me. Like don't go down this path, not because my mom, because do it for me because I'm here for you. I'm someone in your life. Don't like I feel like I would have really, really liked just more of that dynamic as a whole. Because I thought like
mhm.
I thought the daughter was really good. I thought like their dynamics was really fun. Um but yeah, Klaus disappointed me. We gave him like a cool concept in theory, like this idea that like this like sex therapist for ghosts kind of thing. Like I thought that was
Mm.
kind of a fun concept. I was like, okay, where are we taking this? It was ultimately, in my opinion, though, like a filler plotline for him. Just like,
Yeah,
do this weird mafia plotline over here. We'll come back
yeah.
later.
Because again, he learned nothing, right? Because we had that. Yes, okay, I will agree. I will say that scene was powerful, where he got Claire to move out of the way just to clutching that TV, right?
Yeah.
But we to get that scene, we sacrificed a lot. Do you know what I mean? And we still could have had that scene if you took away the ghost gigolo stuff, right? And just had him trying to be that moral leader, getting questioned and losing Ben in the group, right?
Mm, yeah.
Could have then caused a relapse, right? But then not even like a full relapse, one where he told Claire to get the F out of the way, and
Yeah.
then like got to the store and been like, you know what, this isn't me anymore,
Yeah.
and then could have gone back. So we could have had our cake and ate it, but they chose to again go for laughs. And as much as it was nice seeing a ethereal thunderbolt, right? I think we could have gone another way.
Yeah.
So
And that's another thing. Like, Ben has never been more prominent in the show than he has this season, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. But I feel like, honestly, and I really like Victor this season. We'll also talk about him. I feel like the trying to reach out to Ben and trying to get him on the right path probably should have gone to Klaus. Like, I think Klaus probably should have had that thing of like, now I am in the right. Like, you helped me my entire life. You've been there for me every step of the way. You don't know this, but you've been there for me every step of the way. Now you've fallen by the wayside. I'm going to help you because I need that. I need to pay. Like, I feel like that almost writes itself. As much as I did really like the Victor and Ben style, I thought that was also really good. I feel like maybe we should have just thrown Klaus in with the Victor and dad plotline, the Hallgraves or whatever his name. I forget his name. But I feel like maybe he should have just gone with that group. I feel like that would have made a lot more sense. Would have felt very satisfying for his character. But yeah,
you know, just hit me as well, right? Talking about Ben. Okay, so up until this season, we've had the mystery of how did Ben die?
Yeah.
Right? How did you feel about the reveal? Because it's now just hitting me, right? That, like, yes, their memories were affected by it, but Ben's wasn't. And Klaus was always talking to Ben. And at no point was Ben like, yo, I know I got told not to look in the box, but kind of got shot over it. Like, can we deal with this?
Yeah, you would think.
Massive plot hole.
Massive plot hole. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't really I feel like I still don't fully understand the girl, the love interest. I forget her name off the top of my head. Sorry, guys. I'm binged this. I forget a lot of these characters' names, but I feel like I don't quite understand the whole squid situation with her and exactly like
Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer. Like, what was the squid? Where
Is that me or Daren? Is it me? I'm not sure which one of us is glitching.
I somewhat get it, but I feel like they really super power.
It's me. I'm good. Is it? It's me. Okay. Well, Mr. Jinxon says hi. So yeah, I don't understand Jennifer. Thank you, baby. I don't understand Jennifer either. Why she was in a squid, how she ended up there. If that was by design, then there's an issue there because there's nothing to say that the issue she would have made it, right?
Hello, I'm back.
Hello, welcome back.
For like a minute.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was me at first. Me and the cat were just keeping things going.
I think it was mine because it completely kicked me out of the studio. What were you saying while I was out?
That if Jennifer was put in the squid by design, because I have no idea why she ended up in there, then that's child endangerment.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say that she would have survived being in that squid. Who put her there?
Well, like, I thought at first, and I do think this is a big part. I think there was more with Jennifer that had to be cut due to time or whatever. Like, I do think that's a thing. I swore, like, oh, it's a squid. It has something to do with Ben. Like at first I was like, oh, is Ben the squid? Like, did Ben go back in time and get her as a child? Like, I thought there was going to be something along those lines, and it's just like, nope, no relevance whatsoever.
No. Also, in the original timeline, she would have just been in a box. Just because of like her power set. And all you have to do is just keep her away. Keep her away from... And another thing is, you are an interplanetary species. Why are we having this issue?
Yeah.
Why is this a thing? If their whole, coming together is what destroys the universe, maybe keep them on separate planets.
Yeah.
You know? Kind
Maybe
of an
he
idea.
doesn't have a way off, I don't know, off Earth or whatever. This is another thing, though. I think they've been mentioning the like Jennifer incident since season 1, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I'm pretty sure they've been mentioning that, and maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe it's a season 3 thing, but they've been mentioning it for at least a little while now. And yeah, I will say I'm a little underwhelmed by like the ultimate payoff of it all. Like,
I just can't believe that he did that and then sat there and was like, "Oh yes, it was a lucrative deal with the CIA," and I just sat there and bamboozled your mind. I mean, oh yeah, I
it
rolled
was
my
very funny to me.
like,
You
what?
know,
Yeah,
it was. I did think it was very funny when he's like, "You can't blame me. This was the other one," and then him immediately being like, "But I'd make the same exact choice." Like, it was like, "Come on, dude. We can be mad at you." Like, this is not only did you were going to do the same exact thing again. Like, this is crazy. So yeah, no, I the Jennifer stuff would like. I liked her as an actress. I thought her and Ben had chemistry. They didn't give me enough to like grab onto for the relationship. Like,
right? Okay, so this is why I started thinking that like, is this aimed at teenage girls? Right? Am I not liking this just because I'm not a teenage girl? Am I just becoming cynical now? Because like I understand that what they were going for in the fact that they're like doomed lovers, right?
Yeah.
But and I understand in true love at first sight. I've experienced it, right? But there's nothing to say. Like they give nothing to show that. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing. Like, oh wow, they do a little couple of things in sync. Adorable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they've given me nothing that I'm like, oh, these guys are like, these guys are like destined. They cannot help but be like just constantly like, oh, I'm like right here, and I have to be I have to be touching you. We have to connect, and we have this in common, and this and this and this, and we're just made for each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was none of that. There was none of that whatsoever. There was just two people hanging out in a car. You know?
Yeah, I
That's hilarious. No, I didn't see that.
Thinking back, I did not see that either. No, that is really funny. But like thinking back on the show, I mentioned just a little bit ago, there aren't really that many good relationships in the show. I feel like almost every relationship in the show is just so incredibly toxic. Like the Diego and Lila one, they have their moments, but that seems very toxic. The one with Hargraves and his wife is toxic. Obviously, all the way back in season 1, the Victor and I forget the like psychotic boy in the first season that he was dating. That was obviously toxic. He was evil. The Allison, both of her relationships failed. Like just almost every step of the way, like every relationship, I think, like even like obviously the Allison and Luther stuff is really toxic. Like I don't know. I almost feel like you were mentioning the like teenage girl thing. Like I hope teenagers aren't watching this because I feel like it's not a great example of healthy relationships. Like that's not what I want people to be thriving for. Obviously the now 5 and Lila thing, like that's an affair. Like don't be listening to that reasoning. Like
also I can't believe that Victor went through everybody in town. You know what I mean? Like I for fuck's sake. All right.
I will say I do think Victor was my favorite this season. I think as a whole, I think he's the character that actually felt like he had an arc. Like not a very strong arc, but like he felt like he needed to he's still dealing from the trauma of his father and what, he put him through and not being included. And I think those couple episode arcs of like his attack against Hargreaves being like, no, you did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me, you will not take Ben away from me, and just finally be able to vent all that. And I actually, part of my favorite scene of the season, I think, is like the scene with him and Hargreaves in the car. I mean, like, I don't know what he saw, I don't know what he thought, but you deserve to wear that costume just as much as anyone else in the family, if not more. I was like, that is such a great scene, and that felt like that felt like what I wanted. I wanted a moment with these characters to be like, oh, their arcs are now full circle. they started here and now they're here. That was Victor's scene. I was like, that's great. I never felt like any of the other characters got that. I never felt like, oh yes, they've come full circle kind of thing.
Okay. So with Victor, right? Did you get the feeling that like obviously Elliot Page being trans and Victor being trans, like, do you feel like I got the feeling that some of the lines and the storylines were in there as character development for Elliot Page. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then it was like a chicken and egg situation where it's like, who is this for? You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like necessarily a bad thing, but like, I don't know. It was kind of like a part of Elliot was speaking like through the character, kind of. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't feel. I don't know. Like some of it felt like it felt authentic through through his portrayal. Excuse me, through their portrayal, but the fact that it was in there didn't feel fully authentic. Do you mean?
I don't know. I personally didn't find a huge issue with any of it. I personally really liked what they did with. I feel like there's more of that last season than there was this season. Like there was a couple lines last season. I was like, oh yeah, that's for Elliot Page. But yeah, I don't know. I also like the talk of like diversity in these shows come up a lot, and there's some people who are like, I don't want this or whatever. But I do think, especially in this case, it is kind of an important thing to show trans like diversity in our shows because there's not a lot of them. There
again,
really is not.
Yeah, I think it's massively important as well. Yeah, and it. See, this is where I'm annoyed, right? Because I'm kind of making DJ Eric's argument, which I was counter arguing for the Acolyte, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just authenticity. Do you know what I mean? Like it can't just be or feel authentic because a trans person is saying it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like as much as like Lila and Five's storyline felt like just wedged in, it felt like some of the time with Victor's scenes that were it wasn't all needed. Do you know what I mean? Like no, it's not what I'm trying to say. Like I love Victor, right?
You want it to feel authentic is
yeah, right. It just felt like it was just shoehorned in.
Sure.
And the only credibility that it was given is because of who was giving it. That's what I'm saying. And I don't like that.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? I want it to be proper sincere and proper genuine and a true part of the story. It's now a part of the story because the actor is going through some shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's like coming to terms with who they truly are. Do you know what I mean? And going through their struggle, right? And that's why that's a part of the character's journey, and that's great that they're putting that in, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe Elliot needed to be more a part of the conversation because I don't know. Some of it felt too on the nose.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think just to me personally, I thought they were the only part of this season that felt like natural. Like I felt like, I don't know, some of the characters felt like they were here and here and here. I felt like, okay, they're really the only one that was kind of responsible for the actual like apocalypse plotline at the end of the season.
Oh yeah,
everyone else
Victor kept everything going for sure.
Yeah, it was like here and here, and her and Hargraves were or him and Hargraves were the only one kind of on that mission. Which I will say, I actually also really like their dynamic. We already talked about that a little bit. Like I think this is my favorite season of Hargraves as well. Like I feel like he felt like an actual character this season. He was going through almost an arc of like, listen, I've screwed these guys over again and again and again. Is there a valid reason why maybe I should sway the other way? And it felt like he was trying. Like he was actually trying to be a good person for once. And part of that I think is because he had his wife by his side finally, right? He finally
Yeah.
got what he wanted. She was finally there, and I feel like that has helped him with his moral compass a little bit. So I also kind of liked their dynamic. But again, I do think Klaus should have been there. I think now that we're kind of talking this out, I think that should have been that main trio, was them trying to stop the apocalypse. I think that would have helped.
Yeah.
I think that would have helped Ben's story. I think that would have helped Klaus's story. We did talk about Ben a little bit here.
It would have helped Victor as well, right? Because because Klaus has already worked through his stuff in season 3, so he could have helped mediate, and like, because you have Victor being the start of, oh, this is where I am, and Klaus being where he wants to be. Do you know what I mean? So like, he has the through path to work towards it. And I agree that would have been a hell of a dynamic, because that would have taken some of the weight off of Victor as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff I'm talking about is he had phenomenal moments, right? Phenomenal moments. But then because the storyline got pushed because of the length of time that we had, and it was all relying on Victor, some of those moments inadvertently got doubled down on.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And if they had Klaus in the mix, then that would have taken some of the weight off of him, and it would have just landed better, I think.
And also, when you're combining those stories, that would have been more screen time to actually further the plot, right? You had maybe 20-30 minutes spent on this, side Klaus' storyline that it doesn't matter. It really, like in the finale, they proved the point where, like, I was stuck in a thing. It doesn't matter now. Let's move on. I was just like, that's the exact problem with it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of things going on doesn't matter. And I guess that, like, takes me to Victor. I'm sorry, not Victor. Luthor and Diego. They also really, for a big chunk of this, don't matter. They're, like, especially Luthor really bugged me for a while. He was, like, the main character. He did nothing this season. He was the comic relief. He was a big monkey smash bad guy. That was his whole thing. He hit some people sometimes. He had some fun banter with some characters. His theme about being a stripper is funny. Like, it works, but, like, he had no arc this season. He had no growth. He just kind of, I feel like he almost, like, he hits his peak in season 2. Like, I think honestly, relatively after season 1, where he has this really strong arc about, like, the moon, and he spent so much time there for nothing. He just got sent there to get sent there. And after that, like, once he got past that trauma, he hasn't had much to do. And I feel very bad because Salone, they don't even try to do anything with that character. She's just gone. She's gone. They don't care. Like, they mentioned it a couple times. She's like, oh, we used to do this. I was like, okay, where is she? Oh, they don't press it. She's just gone. And that's very frustrating. I wonder if that was the thing with the actress. Maybe she couldn't return. Maybe they didn't care enough to further that plot line. I don't know.
It's tough. I'm not sure either. But again, time constraints. Maybe if they give more episodes, maybe we would have seen them. Yeah. Because we saw some variations of the team, like the Phoenix Academy and the Sparrows and all that. Yeah.
And then Diego, I think, was very hit and miss for me this season. I think starting out, I actually really enjoyed what they were doing with him. He felt like a proper, like, I don't know, it's hit and miss, because I do think the family drama of it all was very frustrating from time to time. It was just like him and Lila trying to go through their relationship. He's bored in his life. He's not, he's bored with his kids. He's bored with his wife. He wants to be a superhero again. He's trying to find, anything in his life. He's trying to, like, join the CIA and just trying to find his stuff in his life. But I don't know. I feel like it ultimately just kind of goes around in a circle. Like, there's those really nice scenes in episode 4 and 5 and 6, I guess, where, like, he's like, no, I do love my life. I'm married to this hot wife. I have these amazing kids. Like, I have all this in front of me. I think that's a very wholesome, like, when Lila comes back and she's like, like, I just really missed you. And, like, things are going to change around here. I want to be better. Like, I thought that, oh, that's a really nice scene. I feel like that should have been the end of the arc. Like, I do think his arc should have just been like, honestly, I think his arc should have been being okay, being normal. That probably should have been Diego's arc, because that was his thing in season 1, was like, I'm going out there, I'm being this like vigilante, I'm doing this things. His arc should have been like, I'm okay. This is who I am, and that's okay. And I feel like it gets mumbled up in the love affair of it all.
Because basically it could have been that Lila wasn't okay with it, so she needed to keep going out and being an assassin or whatever, right? And it could have been like Diego like could have settled down and just become the cookie cutter husband. Do you know what I mean? Because like you said, it was exactly what he's wanted this whole time. He's gone from a dysfunctional family where no one wants to be in the same room to a functional family with 2 dysfunctional people in it that worked. Do you know what I mean? So that could have been his thing. That he was like the cliche dad of the group now. You know, that would have worked for his character as well. But then they had to set up the whole shenanigans. So we got what we got.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And then, you know, Lila as well this season, you know, outside of the whole love affair, like talking about the first 4, she also was just kind of bugging me throughout the season. And I was trying to work through it. I was like, okay, what can I take away from this character? Is it just that she's annoying me, but she has, you know, like, she is also valid in her own right? Or is she just not being written well this season? I do think it's a bit of both. Like, I was trying to get around to, like, okay, she's bored and she's trying to, you know, be part of this book club and she's doing this thing. And I don't know, just the whole season, though, she's saying the worst things. I think she's just being an absolute, just not a great person throughout the season. Like, I hated her scene with, like, Diego when they're about to go into the mine thing. I was like, yeah, we're taking a break, bye-bye. And I was like, what a terrible way to do that. Like, I feel like that made her very unlikable as a whole this season. And I think that might just be because she's actual part of the team this season. Like, before, she's like, I'm here and then I'll leave for a couple episodes, I'll be back, you know, like she's never a part of the family. And I like some of their dynamics. Like, I do think there's a fun dynamic between her and Allison. I think there's fun stuff with her and Victor, and like stuff with, you know, when Five and her are like these kind of like these like superhero time agents, I think they're actually really good. Like, I think they work well together. And I don't know, like I was trying to like put myself in their shoes in terms of the time travel stuff. Like, I was like, okay, if I'm stuck 7 years together with somebody, you know, who knows? Like, that might also make the right decision. Like, the characters themselves, I don't necessarily blame for the affair, if you will. It's more of me as from the writer room being like, hey, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Down the path. But I don't know. She was my least favorite this season, I think, just in terms of like just not enjoying her. But again, she also has her moments of like I really liked her final scene where she's like, thank you for letting me be a part of this weird family. Like, I was like, all right, that's a really nice scene for her. That's a nice kind of send off, if you will. I suppose I mean, not really, because what they were all dealing with, but as far as like final like lines go, I thought that was pretty cute. I do want to address this comment from Cameron Walker. Again, thank you, Cameron, and anyone else that's been commenting down below. I do very much appreciate it. This is something I've heard a lot of people talk about. Could Victor just take everyone's power and sacrifice himself so anyone can live? So I did think about this. But it's kind of implied that like the Marigold or whatever wasn't the problem. Like they did that for like they wouldn't just recite the cycle. But the way the other fives are talking about it wasn't that. It almost seemed like it was them as a family was the problem, which I don't quite understand, to be honest. But it seemed like as long as those 7 existed, they would somehow still destroy the world or whatever, right?
I thought it was the Marigold that was a problem.
Maybe.
Like them, like they exist because of the Marigold. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Every time. The fact that she makes it is what's the problem.
I suppose. But then at the end, it like regrows into flowers, right?
So oh my, don't get me started. Okay. So what we've now done right? With that whole post-credit scene, it's all been for nothing. It's all been for nothing.
Yeah.
That whole sacrifice meant nothing. None of it meant a thing. It was all a dream, is what we might as well say. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just slapped everybody in the face with a golden flower.
Yeah.
That's what you've done. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? They made that wonderful sacrifice. They were all tears ahoy, right? And then what you said is, oh, there was somebody else in the family that nobody has accounted for in 158 odd thousand apocalypses.
Mm-hmm.
This other person that has yet to be revealed, is somehow the cause of this marigold now was sprouting out of the ground, and we're going to go through the whole cycle again. So those people sat there lollygagging in the park, swinging, throwing frisbees and the whatnot, like all great, but you don't count your chickens, everybody, because you're all about to die.
Yeah.
Again.
It felt like they were trying to leave themselves room to come back if they wanted to. Like, I felt like, just in case they let us do another season in like 3 years, here's the marigolds or whatever, and they'll bring them back, or someone else will get freaking powers or whatever, or whatever it may be. I don't know. Like, and also, like, I'm very conflicted about them all dying as the ending. Like, I'm very conflicted on it. I feel like, in theory, I don't hate the idea. Right? I don't hate the idea of a storyline about accepting fate. I don't hate that. It could work. But I think, for one, you have to set more groundwork for it. I think you have to set the playing field a bit more. I felt like they knew that was their ending, but they weren't ready for the actual ending yet. So like, let's throw it in there. I felt like everything kind of around it felt very distasteful. Like, it didn't feel like a happy, like, okay, this is what we must do, so let's do this. It felt like, like they wanted that, like, Guardians of the Galaxy moment when they're all ready to sacrifice each other for each other. And it's like, no, they're doing this because they feel like they have to and they hate each other. And it felt very distasteful for me. It was a very bitter ending. It's like, well, I don't like the taste you left in my mouth after doing that. But yeah, no, again, but like, I like in concept, and maybe I would have even done the same thing. This idea that, like, the whole point of the show is that we have to stop the apocalypse. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. We have to stop it. But maybe what we've learned is that you can't necessarily stop it. And to stop it, we have to stop ourselves. Like, that's there's room to move there. There's rooms to work there. I don't know. I just didn't like how they went about it. And again, just all the love drama around it just made it so just like, that's where you end these guys. You end them hating each other, and Klaus being like, "Oh, I hate you." Like,
that was funny. That felt very.
Funny.
That felt kind of like right for them, but
I don't know. I think it was just that compared to everyone else already kind of having it out with each other. It was like, I don't know. I guess I'm still.
I think if the idea of them being the issue and having to sacrifice themselves came up earlier, and it was them fighting all of the odds to prove that they're not the problem, and the whole season that they can fix it, but then at the end being like, okay, well, obviously we are going to have to do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, then it would have felt a bit more earned, but it just came out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Like, like somebody just brought it up as, oh, you better chat with yourself, 75. Great. So what? Now we've all got to jump on the grenade? Oh, okay. You know what I mean? They can't agree on anything at the best of times.
Yeah.
You really think, like, just because it's the end of the world that they're all just suddenly in unison now? And, like, we're supposed to just go, okay. I mean, like, I get it, they have a great bond when it comes down to it. They're a team, they're the Umbrella Academy, but again, the level of dysfunction through it all, as interesting as it is to watch, it kind of we need more moments of functionality between them to have these moments make sense.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that's one of my biggest issues with this season is it doesn't feel like they've. I guess I've already kind of touched on this a bit, I guess, but like it doesn't feel like they've grown as a family and as a unit and as people. Like some definitely feel like they've grown. Klaus has grown in some areas. Victor's obviously grown. But in some areas, it also feels like we're in the exact spot that we were as a family in season 1. And that's frustrating because I want it to feel like we've grown closer as a family. But I feel like still, like, if we survived this, they would have still walked away from each other again if they wouldn't have
100%. Like, you literally had Victor saying to Allison, we're not friends, and that's okay.
Yeah,
we're fine.
They never
like, what? Are you shitting me? Like, get out of town. And then at the end, it's all like, I love you, man. I love you. I love you. You're so great. I'm sorry. You literally just told her to her face, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she was there extending that brunch.
And I'd argue the family might be in a worse place right now than we were when we started. Like, our family was broken in the first place mainly because they wrote the book. Right, they wrote the book about the family that kind of broke them all apart. There's currently a love affair. Like, there's a love affair going on. I think that's 10 times worse than any book, right? And again, maybe they could have worked out. Maybe they could have somehow worked themselves through it. Maybe they could have done it. Just kind of circle around the thing that you were saying about like about like them dying and how does it work. Honestly, I think if you would have introduced the idea much sooner. I think if 5 would have found his like little council of 5 and he would have come to the conclusion they all needed to die in like episodes 2 or 3, the season arcs could have been, are we ready to sacrifice ourselves? I think each individual one of them would have had a different journey with that. Very similar to Doom Patrol. Like Doom Patrol, I think it was the final season. Their arcs were like they were all slowly dying in their own individual ways, and they were all kind of grieving the concept of death or accepting the concept of death in a very different way. And that's very fascinating, especially for a character like Klaus. Like what does it mean for the guy who can never die to die? That's fascinating. Yeah. I'd love to see that arc. What about Allison, who has a daughter? What about Victor, who just opened his own business? What happened? What about Diego? Diego, that would have been so fascinating. His whole thing is that he wants to get back out there and be a hero again. But maybe he can't. Like, maybe this is literally his last time he can ever be a hero. How does he spend his final moments on this? Like, I don't know. That's such a more fascinating story they could have gone down now that I think about it. And then it would have made the final scene worth it. Because it's like, oh, we've spent the season accepting who we are, what we have to do, growing closer together as a family, and finally stopping the apocalypse one last time. Oh, man. I feel like, I don't know. May have been the better route. Cameron asks, are Lila and Diego's kids and Claire... I'm sorry, are Lila and Diego's kids and Claire becomes a paradox, right?
I would argue yes. Yes.
They shouldn't exist. I don't know. I was under the impression they would just erase once they never existed. Like, I don't...
Yeah, at the end of them playing in the garden, that's them.
Yeah. It does. And it doesn't make much sense to me.
We had Cha-Cha, or the other one.
Yeah.
Not Cha-Cha. What's his name? Hazel? No, it was Hazel or Cha-Cha. We had walking. We had the handler in the park. We had Grace the robot as a mother. Like, it was such a trip. Honestly, such a trip, because just them not existing. How the hell does that turn a robot into a human? Do you know what I mean? Like, what the hell is that about?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, it made no sense. It made no sense at the end.
Just, new timeline rule. And again, I like the idea of us returning back to the OG timeline. Like, that's a fun final season twist. But yeah, it's getting there. That's a bit frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
I was sad, but the lack of Pongo as well. I feel like each season we have a different Pongo. Really, we have 10 seconds worth of Pongo. We have that one scene in the flashback, and then like the narration at the end. So I guess Pongo still exists in this timeline, all alone. I guess just him and Hargraves, I guess, in the.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like a lot of things I probably haven't mentioned. Have we gone through all the kids? Like, have we gone through all the major characters that we wanna talk? I guess. Yeah, I mean,
I
do you want to
gotta
talk about?
say,
Go ahead, sorry.
it's interesting that it's the child that has been missing all the time and the missing piece of the puzzle that is the cause of like the end for all of them. I think that's kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
Ben.
Yeah, that was done, but could have been done better. And I think it's funny that like I rolled my eyes when I saw the upside down umbrella tattoos. I was like, for God's sake. And then I did like the fact that Victor never got a tattoo because he was never part of the team. So then that fact the fact that he was able to draw one on. I did enjoy.
Yeah, and also like they said in season 1 that he would practice, like he would draw it on himself to feel for he could fit in. So it makes sense he would be able to draw one on, a fake one on just so easily. I do want to address this comment really, really quickly. Did the showrunner get accused of something in the past couple months? Yes, it did come out that there were some controversies with the main show. I think it was the main showrunner, and just like not treating the cast very well. Apparently, like it wasn't a great work environment. Apparently, and which sucks because I think I do. It feels like the cast are really good friends. Like it feels like the cast gets along, and they have a great. And again, the cast, like even when the season wasn't working, I felt like the cast was still giving it their all, and it's still. I think it's still always a fun show to watch. Like even in the starts of 5, even in parts of like the finale, like it's still fun getting this. Like when they all start showing up at the family thing, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm like this is so fun to watch.
I think that about these guys the whole time. I mean, they are genuinely why I kept sticking around.
They're great.
Like the only reason I kept sticking around is because when they're together as these characters, like I could just sit and watch them in a room having a chat. Jimmy, because they're going to come up with the most outlandish stuff and just start arguing about nonsense, end up in a dance off, and then get back to like drinking and partying or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's great. I love the whole thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I feel like that's just why. I think like we've been complaining most of this episode, unfortunately, but like those first, I will say, and you may agree or disagree, I don't know. I think those first 3 episodes are a return to form for the show for the most part. Like I thought, like okay, this is somewhat what I was missing because all of season 3 felt for me. It was so much just fighting. It was constant fighting, constant drama with the characters. I felt like okay, we've kind of come back and we've kind of come to a return to form a little bit, but like back on par with season 1 and 2 a little bit. And I was really enjoying it. But definitely, there were still definitely cracks there. Kind of looking back, being like, oh, okay, yeah, there were a couple things that maybe didn't work so well. But we didn't fully talk about Ben. I do really enjoy it. Like this is the first season where it feels like he's part of the family, if you will. Mm-hmm. Like he's actually kind of part of the team. And that was one of my favorite additions last season. Like he was very unlikable last season, but I also thought that was kind of one of the points. And I thought the way you kind of bring him back to life through the alternate version is really fun. Like that's very fun and creative. It's not like you're just bringing the other one back to life or whatever. So I really enjoyed like the beginning couple episodes when he's with the team and he's actually part of the crew again. I was like, this feels right. This is really cool. He actually gets to do this, and then he kind of goes off on his own for a while. Like I wish he could have been a part of the team a little bit more. Like he's the main kind of plot of the season, but also sometimes it feels like he's not there as well, which is frustrating. But I don't know. If it was done better, I wouldn't be opposed to something like that. But yeah. And then Allison, kind of the last main child. I guess we didn't really talk about too much. Also didn't really have an arc this season, I guess.
No, she was just picking up everybody else's shit.
Yeah, she was kind of bouncing off of every other character. Like I felt like we started off and she has an arc about redemption. It feels like her arc is about like, oh, they don't want to see me. They don't want anything to do with me. And they dropped that really quickly, and then it just becomes like they're like again her dynamic with Klaus this season I thought was wonderful. When it was on play, like those first several episodes, especially, like their friendship was really great. She was the only one to be like, "Hey guys, he doesn't want this." Like he said directly, "I don't want to be, I don't want this in my body." Obviously, she gets the like direct blast of it because she's the one that actually does it. But
I think they ran out of stuff for her. Do you know what I mean? Because she had a powerful season 1 with "I use my power on my kid."
Mm-hmm.
She had a powerful season 2 with the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Right? Powerful season 3 and "Oh my god, my life's been robbed of me. I need to get it back."
Yeah.
Right?
She became the villain.
She gets it back, and then he ends up leaving her anyway. Right?
Sure.
Then they just have run out of stuff for her. So what is she? She had literally had nothing again apart from being the bad guy that everybody started having to go at in the group for no reason. You know, like stuff would happen, and it'd be like, "See, Allison, see what you just did."
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
And like you're right, she does really have everything she's wanted thus far in the show. Like her whole driving force these first 3 seasons was, "I need to get my daughter back," and she wins. She gets her daughter back, and like.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly wish we could have got to see a little bit more between that. Like, dive into that a little bit. What does it mean to have your daughter back? And I guess a little bit that's tarnished by, like, I don't know, just like the 5-year time jump. Like, there's a whole 5 years she got with her daughter back, which was, of course, great. I don't know, maybe I really. I wonder how the conversation went with the whole power. So they don't really explain, because as far as her know, these last 5 years, they didn't have powers. So she wouldn't have had to explain that to her. And just, it's implied that she knows that they all have powers. But like, when did that conversation take place? Did you just tell her about it over those 5 years, or I don't know.
Yeah, bedtime stories.
So I was in a timeline where you die.
Yeah.
I read you a bedtime story, and you fell into sleep or what. I don't know. It's yeah. I safe to say I didn't love this final season. Not to say there wasn't some good to be had. There was some fun things in here for sure. I'll say episode 2 had some really, like, they had a really fun fight scene with like the baby shark and like the giant Santa Claus coming forward. That whole sequence is a lot of fun. Actually, there was like quite a few good fight scenes in here. Like the fight scene with Luthor and Diego and like the CIA, whatever. Like that was fun. I didn't like the whole CIA side plot line because I felt like they were just getting rid of those characters too. But
literally babysitting them, and we were
literally we're like, go over here for an episode. We don't know what to do with you.
Yeah. Again, Elliot Page is a force. Like, that is not in question. They are a phenomenal actor that like helped carry this season. It's just they fumbled the bag is my issue. You know what I mean? And like, because we had Elliot Page, we had their stuff in season 3, right?
Yeah.
We had that moment. So like, it felt like, again, we had nothing to do with Victor apart from like the daddy issues and having him for the end. So like, we're just gonna sit coding with them the whole time. Do you know what I mean? When my issue is that's not all they are. They are more than that, and I want you to show that they're more than that. Do you know what I mean? Like, am I saying it right? I feel like I'm not saying it right.
Because I feel like
it's more than who they are. Do you know what I mean? They don't just walk in and say, "Hi, I'm this," without saying it. Do you know what I mean? Just like a sticker that says, "Hi, I'm trans." Do you know what I mean? They are more than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess I didn't really see that this season. I guess just personally, like I felt like it was more about just like, and this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that you're wrong in any way. This is just like, I guess I just kind of saw it as like Victor needing to air out their trauma with the dad. Like I felt like that was their main story. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Like I didn't
honestly. I don't feel like 100% if it was needed. Do you mean
Really?
what I would have done with Victor? I don't 100% know.
Yeah.
But I'm not like convinced that that was the best choice. Do you know what I mean? Like we're on season 4, and we're still doing daddy issues.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess the one good thing about like him being the only one taking charge is it does feel like that arc of like, oh, you couldn't wear the mask, like you couldn't wear the costume, like he does, like he's the only one to save the day, like he's the only one really on this mission trying to stop this thing. And honestly, I do kind of think it's a nice kind of full circle, like he's the one to ultimately do this mission, he's the one that started it in season 1, like it was, you know, like that was the apocalypse in that first season. Mm-hmm. So I do think there's a nice full circle moment. But I would have liked to have divvied it up a little bit. I think is the one thing I'd say. Like I wanted the other characters to also have a part of the final apocalypse or the final main plot line. And it does feel like it's all just given to Victor. And while everyone else is at the CIA or, you know, on a train or, you know, in a grave. I don't know. Like that's kind of what I would. I don't know. I again, I don't know how I would do this final season. Like I don't know exactly what I would how I would go about it. I would just, I don't know. It's clear, and I want to see the timeline where we had our normal 10 episodes. I want to see what that original 10 hour, because I do think that these ideas would have worked much better if given more time to breathe. Like again, I didn't like the 5 and Lila story. But what would that have looked like if we had 5 episodes with that to better understand that entire thing? Like, could it have been done better? Could all of that airing out have happened? You know, the big fight and them trying to work out their, you know, their love affair have been better if that was done in episode 8, and then the following 2 episodes was not that. You know what I mean? Like, would it have worked better? I definitely think so.
Would it have happened? Would it have happened if they weren't both just attractive people? Do you know what I mean? Like they're both off the front a cover of magazines. Do you know what I mean? Like, would this issue still have happened if they were just everyday people? You know,
I thought it was interesting because again, the actress that plays Lila said that one of the writers told them about it at the season 3 premiere that they were gonna, or like the season 3 finale or whatever that they were gonna do, and she's like, I don't believe that. So they've been cooking at it for a while. Like it's interesting that it was a part of the original plan even before like clearly some shenanigans behind the scenes happened. Which, you know, I guess that's on them if they just want to go down that storyline. But again, like I wonder, do you think this was supposed to be the original final season? Or do you think they had one more planned? Because honestly, in several areas, it doesn't feel like a final season. Like in some ways it does, but most of the time it just feels like a regular season of the show. I don't know. Like I'd love to talk to like a season 1 writer and be like, okay, so what did you envision for this? Was this ultimately where you wanted to go? Or was this Netflix being like, finish it now, or you're getting canceled or whatever? But yeah, I mean, I do want to answer this comment right before we kind of wrap this up. I remember the showrunner said he would do a storyline about Salone. I don't disbelieve that. It feels like a lot of things were probably cut off the dining room table, if you will. But is there anything that we haven't mentioned thus far that you would like to kind of mention as we kind of wrap up this episode?
Just that they all did a very, very, very good job.
Yeah,
they all did. Right. The writers, fine, they didn't give everybody like a great deal to work with, but what they did and what they gave us was phenomenal, and they should be very, very proud of themselves.
Yeah.
And I would say Elliot Page is a standout of the whole season.
Yeah.
And they're all fantastic. They're all fantastic. But the performances that we got from Elliot Page were undeniable. They were incredible. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe again because I wasn't happy with the season as a whole. I would have just gone somewhere different with Victor. That's all I'm saying. I mean, maybe that's not what I'm happy with. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because I feel like they did him a little bit dirty. Because I feel that he's bigger. Like, you are like world-ending level powerful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And are deep as hell as a character. And I still feel like we were all surface level this season with you.
I agree.
You know,
yeah.
That's my issue.
Yeah.
And fair. I know, like you saw how much Elliot Page gave us. And I know that there was a lot more that we could have got from them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that, especially in comparison to season 1, where every character was so rich, was so, again, had so much storyline, was so fascinating. None of them, I feel like, even live up to like the season 2, even back to the season 2. I feel like they were all so rich in care. And to be fair, that does happen when you are several years in. Like you have less to do the further you go. I 100% get that. They were clearly rushed on time and resources. We didn't mention it prior, but I hated the boss fight at the end with the giant goo. Like that just felt like a giant video game fight scene. It was like, throw this and now do this, and oh, they're available here, throw this here, and like they're fighting each other while the giant monsters, like 5 leaving them mid battle because he's mad about the Lila situation pissed me off. Like,
right. Yeah.
Your family's about to die. What the hell are you doing? Like, I know you're mad, but who gives a shit? Like, save your family. Like,
as well. When Ben and Jennifer got together, right? I don't care. Me and my partner. If we start, we're insanely in love, right? I don't care. If we're getting down to it, and all of a sudden there's this just big beam of red energy between us, right? I don't care. I'm stopping and saying, baby, are you okay? What's happening here? Do you know what I mean? Like, we're getting a doctor involved because that's not normal. We're not just going to keep going and just start obliterating some guy in the next room with physics.
I do think part of that was the, like, stuff inside them, though, right? Like, I do think a little bit of that was, like, they physically couldn't see what was happening to them. Like, they were, like, so in love, they couldn't, like, part of the whatever. But they don't really explain it.
That's where I'm like, I'm not a teenage girl. I don't know that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because I love my partner too much. Do you know what I mean? To not take their health into consideration at any point in time, love making or otherwise. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's insane.
I think it's implied that, like, oh, they couldn't see it because of the whatever, but yeah, it's very it is very like, come on, like this feels kind of stupid the way they went about it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's probably better stuff if we had those 4 more. Like, I bet I wanted more from Ben and Jennifer. Like, I wanted to like Jennifer. I was like, all right, give me something to grab onto, anything that can make me like, okay, this is a fun thing or whatever. But yeah, I feel like we've bashed on it a little bit. Like, I feel like I've got a lot of my feelings out.
Have you? Because I'm now sat thinking about the marigolds at the end, and it feels like they've just gone, fuck you, everybody.
Yeah,
I'm still hurting.
It's unfortunate. I mean, if 3, 4, 5 years down the line, if they wanted to do another season to better wrap this up, would that be something you'd want them to do? Or are you at a point where there's like, leave it dead, leave it how it buried? Because honestly, how do you fix it? Like, I don't know how you would fix this final season.
You don't, because basically that group of 5s in that diner are now right. That's all that's proven. The cycle just keeps on going. We just keep on tracking.
Yeah.
And it just makes their sacrifice pointless. And like, we're sat scratching our heads like, well, okay, but they've sacrificed themselves. How the hell are their families still here? Who is designing this? Does that mean that there's like some all-powerful creator? Because they implied that with Hotel Oblivion, that there is a grand designer who's far superior than even Sir Reginald, you know?
Yeah.
But we have nothing to do with that whatsoever. Like, that's not really dived into at all.
Okay, to play devil's advocate, let's just say it isn't the Marigold. Let's say it is the family themselves. Let's say they are somehow cursed. Destiny has it locked in on them that if they exist, the universe will, or the world will be destroyed or whatever. I feel like that somewhat makes it better, because then that's just being like, well, there'll be a new Umbrella Academy or whatever. But also, it's such a weird, it's such a convoluted thing. Like, they don't fully dive into it enough. Like, it doesn't, we don't have enough of a grasping on point. I don't know.
But I feel like that was explored enough with there being a Sparrow Academy, right? Because the only person that was in that was Ben. So then it would still happen. So at least one of them being there is enough, I guess, is what they're saying.
But then they came back in, right? So they were still kind of a part of the process, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a mess. It's that would be how I would describe the season. A mess.
You know what's nuts, right? Is they nailed the first two seasons.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Fantastic.
Like, nailed it in ways you couldn't believe. Like, insanely good. And like complex as hell, but like really good. Sorry, I can't go crazy. And then to start in such an amazing position and to bend the knee in such a gymnastic fashion, like, and not stick the landing, is like just
it's
wow.
sad. Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah, I do, like, each year I do like a giant like tier list of every show I've ever seen, and this year I was like, well, I haven't watched this new season yet. I'm going to have to see where it goes next season, and I definitely think this final season makes it go down a couple of grades for me. Like, I definitely think it's dropped a bit, because I do think the final season is the most important season of any show, because I do think it defines its legacy. Right? You can have a shitty first two seasons, like you can have a bad couple of seasons, but if your season 3, 4, and 5 are good and it ends really well, I'm like, well, that's how I will remember you. And I think that's even more impressive when you don't have the greatest running start, but you redeem yourself and you're like, hey, this is what I actually have in store. This is what I can provide. And unfortunately, I think Umbrella Academy didn't do that for me, unfortunately. But kind of parting thoughts just as a whole as a show. Again, I do overall still love the show. Even when it's bad, it's still fun. Like, I can still really enjoy it. I could still probably rewatch this season, and I can't say that for every show. Like, I couldn't say I like Flash. I don't have much of a passion to watch most of that final season, unfortunately. But like, I would probably still rewatch this at some points. And shout out to the actor who plays Five, because like, he does such a great job. Like, him as an actor, I don't see as 20. I literally see him as like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old man. And I think that's just describing how good he is as an actor. And just like, he convinces me of that. He's so good. And all the actors are great. Again, we've sang their praises. They're great. And
number 5's actor is the only one that's been in both teams, like the kid team and the adult team. And he like does it really, really well.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But I think that's where we're gonna end today's episode. It was good to be back. I think tomorrow's another break or next week's another break because there's no shows on right now to talk about. But we got some fun shows coming around the horizon. Agatha season 1 is coming soon. The Penguin is coming out soon over from the Matt Reeves Batman. And in about a month's time, we got a little over a week, like a month and a week. We have Superman Lois season 4. The final season of Superman Lois will be upon us And that will also be very exciting. Darth, again, thank you for being here. Anything you want to shout out or promo before I let you go?
No, just go and check out the channel.
Go check out his channel. Go check it out, ladies and gentlemen. And one last comment. I think I got a plot hole. What happened to the 47 kids who have powers? I think they're just not here. I think
No. He raises a very good point.
Okay.
Because they too have Marigold in their system. Just because Sir Reginald didn't think that they were applicable to his team, like he didn't sit there and commit infanticide, right?
Yeah.
So why is it only that those 7 to 8 people's Marigold is what stops it all?
Yeah.
Why them in particular? That's a very, 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 very good question.
That is a very good question. And I think my headcanon, I guess I just assumed that in the new timeline they didn't exist. But also that's me just kind of like, they don't ever really explain it. They just kind of forget about them. Like they don't in universe say what happened to the rest of them. And that is and maybe they did that. I think originally, if I'm going to be honest, I think originally maybe they were hoping to keep it very unloosed about the other ones. Like I thought they were like, oh, we'll introduce them later on or do spin-offs later on or whatever. But you're right. They don't address it. They don't say what really happened to them.
So maybe that's why like the post-credit scene happens, because it wasn't a Jonestown Marigold situation.
I don't know. It's I would say it is probably definitely a plot hole. It's definitely, at least they don't want us to think about the other kids that we haven't talked about. They just want to be like, don't worry about it. They're fine. They're over there doing their thing, I guess. And, if there's another apocalypse, at least that's not on our team, right? They can be like, well, it's their fault. Someone else caused this issue. I don't know.
But the fact that they like wipe themselves from existence and memory, like they're not even in an afterlife. They're just gone.
No, they're just gone. Erased from all of existence.
Like that's such like, I'm not gonna lie, like you're like you think about who made it and you're like the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, and then you're like, makes sense.
Yeah. This is a very good point, and this will be our ending argument. I got another one. Which one is Ben on the train back in Korea in season 1? Yeah, so didn't they end the season with another Ben kind of popping up or something? Like there was two different
this is
Bens.
Last season's end post-credit scene, yeah. So basically that was him on his way to commit crypto fraud. That was
it the same one?
That was the Ben that we got all season, but that was him. That was him pre-crime, right? And then we got him after his jail stint. Yeah,
maybe. I guess I just assumed there was going to be 2 different Bens now. I just thought that implied that we had that Ben and then also another Ben that from our original timeline, which is what I thought.
Context, right? So Allison pushes the button. We see her go off to see Claire at the house, right? And then we see Diego, Victor, Klaus, and Luther leaving the lobby. And then it's all smiles, hugs. They all part ways. Credit. Ben is in Korea, right? And then all of those are who we get this season.
Sure. It's such a weird post-credit scene, though, I feel like, in context with all of that. Just being like, oh, he's going to credit fraud or whatever. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, that context we got afterwards at the it was just him on the train, like, to show, Ben, like, as a consequence of their action, Ben is also alive. Yay, we're getting him next season. That was all it was saying.
Sure. I guess so. But again, thank you everybody who hopped in for today's stream. Shout out to Cameron, shout out to Comfort and Strangers, shout out to Team Forward, shout out to 3 Dubs, shout out to Jose. Thank you everyone popping in, chatting, making our live chat very lively this afternoon. And yeah, without further ado, we will see you guys on the flip side. Bye bye.